I fell down the rabbit hole, and I'm going to take you down there with me. It's entirely too deep, and I'm never coming back up. Welcome to Blush, the podcast where we avoid reality by diving into the world of BL. I'm your new bestie, Ray. Every week, I'll be doing episode reviews from BL drama series, old and new, as well as providing updates on upcoming series, ships, and everything BL. Welcome to the very first episode of Blushed. I'm so excited to go on this journey with you all. This is our very first episode of a BL-centered podcast. At least for now, I'll be providing episode summaries every week of whichever series that I am currently watching. Maybe in the future it'll be more often, it just kind of depends on if this takes off or not. I'm also going to be providing commentary on the series just because I really love to talk and I think my family and friends are really tired of listening to me. Especially given the fact that I've become obsessed over the last few months and this is all that I talk about. So let's jump right in. The first series we're going to be going through is We Are, a GMM TV drama that started airing on April 3rd of this year and it's wrapping up on July 17th. The series consists of 16 episodes and you can watch it on iQIYI or YouTube. I'm watching it on YouTube because I'm cheap. No, I'm just kidding. I paid for a Viki subscription and I didn't realize how many BLs were not available on Viki, so I'm hopefully going to be switching to iQIYI pretty soon. Anyhow, the series is centered around college students. It seems to be there are four main couples, I believe with the most notable being PondPhuwin. Since I would say I'm relatively new to Thai BL, I do not know all of the actors' names, so I really hope to learn them in the future, and hopefully they'll become part of my favorite ship roster. Okay, so now that I got the slight intro out of the way, let's jump right into episode 1. So pretty much, basically it starts with Pim, played by Phuwin, walking with a canvas indicating that he is an art student, and as he is walking on campus with this canvas, a soccer ball comes flying out of nowhere and hits his freshly painted piece of art, and we find out that it is kicked by none other than Pum, who is played by Pond. So we pretty much have our main couple right out the gate. Just before this scene, we have Pim sitting like riverside on campus painting this, and he's giving us his little internal monologue about how he's a second year art student and his dream is to showcase his artwork in a gallery, and that is what he's working on at this moment in time, and he is actually on his way to drop this piece of art off at the gallery. Naturally, after his art has been ruined and has fallen to the ground, he confronts Pum like, bro, you just destroyed my piece of art. You're like screaming at me to pick up the ball. Like, who are you, right? And they get into it, and we find out that they have a mutual friend named Tan, and Tan shows up right in the middle of this altercation, and he's like, guys, like, what is going on? Like, why are you fighting? You're both my friends. What happened? And Poom just like very arrogantly is like, I'm not gonna apologize for fucking up your piece of art. Like, I don't care. And Pim says, okay, that's cool. And then he makes like he's gonna leave, but then he turns around and he kicks Poom in the balls, and Poom and friends are very dramatic, and despite Poom being the only one who was physically injured, like all three of them wince in pain. Like, just, man, men are so dramatic. But anyway, Pim runs away. So at this point we start a flashback to very near in the past. Literally, it says one day before. So here we get some more introductions. We meet Pim's best friend, Q, who is also a fine art student that is considered a art genius, as well as Pim's high school friend. During the scene, we're basically getting a glimpse into like how hard life is for a fine art student. Pretty much everyone's like passed out in this art studio from all of their assignments and missing their deadlines. After we get this description, Pim invites Q to come help him at the gallery as they're like prepping for an art show that's coming up, and Q declines because he needs to go meet his mentee Toy, who's a first year art student. From this point, we are taking our focus off Pim for a little bit, and we're following Q to go meet up with his mentee, and we find out that Toy basically called Q to help him with his assignment. In this moment, Q is scolding Toy like, "Oh my god, did you not pay attention in class? How do you not know how to shade this? And don't tell anybody that I'm your mentor because it's like it's embarrassing, right?" But as he starts correcting it for him, there's a little bit of romantic tension. They like touch hands and like this romantic music starts playing and Toy's like staring into like Q's soul as he's like fixing his painting. So I think it's pretty obvious that this is going to be one of our couples because Toy definitely likes Q as more than a mentor. So after wrapping up there, Q goes to the gallery to help him keep prepping for the show that's coming up. And as they're moving some paintings outside of the gallery, they run into their other high school friend, Tan. And Tan is like, "Oh my god, like Q, are you playing at the bar later?" And so we find out that Q has a like side gig where he performs music at the local bar, and Tan invites them to go out to drinks later that night. And he's like, "Oh yeah, like call Chain and Pun too, who I'm assuming are their other high school friends." Now, at this point, we should focus again, and we're following Tan. So we find out that Tan is an engineering student, and from meeting up with Q and Pim, he goes to his own faculty and he runs into his classmate Poom outside. And he invites Poom to come drinking later tonight with him and his high school friends and to bring the other engineering friends. But Poom refuses. He's like, "I gotta go pick up my brother, so I can't go hang out with you tonight." Pim, Q, Tan, and gang meet up at the bar later that night and get sloppy drunk. Like, I'm talking cannot walk straight drunk. They catch a ride to Pim's house. They have to get out of the ride because Pim is going to vomit all over the car, and they start filming it, and it's just like a grand old good time. Eventually, they make it to Pim's house and they run into his aunt in the dark, and she has on a face mask, so everyone's startled, and it's a nice bit of comic relief. But they pretty much all go upstairs and fall on Pim's bed and pass out. Now, I don't know when a full size bed could hold 5 grown men, but they made it work. So now this gets us caught up to pretty much where we started. As expected, based on the drama that Poom showed us after he got kicked, he did not come to school the next day. So we get a glimpse of him in his apartment whining about how his manliness still hurts to his older brother and how his older brother Fong has to help him get back at Pim for kicking him in the balls and embarrassing him, basically. And Fong's like, "Oh, like, yeah, who would hurt my brother?" Like, kind of in a, like, joking, condescending way, but I'm pretty sure he's actually going to help him out. So we cut over to seeing Tan talking to Mick and Beer, asking where is Poom, and Beer basically says that Poom didn't come to school because he's at the hospital. Tan's like, "Oh no, did he get hurt that badly?" And Beer says, "No, he's probably just embarrassed. I mean, it happened in front of a lot of people, so you should probably tell your friend to watch his back." And that is indeed what Tan does. He immediately calls Pim and is like, "Bro, you're screwed. You are in trouble." The next day, Pum is waiting outside of Tan's classroom in a very threatening manner. And he says, "Tan, I need to talk to you. You need to take me to your friend immediately." And Tan's like, "No, bro, don't hurt him. He didn't mean it. Like, please don't hurt my friend." And Poom says he's not gonna hurt him. He just wants to talk to him. Tan reluctantly agrees to take Poom to Pim, but only after Poom promises that he is not gonna do anything to hurt Pim. And Poom does. He promises that he's not gonna hurt him at all. But in exchange, Tan also asks for a favor, which we don't know what it is at this time. Meanwhile, Pim is walking around campus pretty paranoid, thinking that he's gonna run into Poom at any point because Tan told him he fucked up. He meets up with Chain and Q, and they ask him about the fight that happened on the football field. Q tells him that he got into a fight with Poom, the engineering student, and Chain's like, "Out. This is pretty bad. Like, you picked a fight with the wrong person." And Pim says, "Is it really that bad?" And Chain's like, "Yeah, it is. It's that bad. No one messes with this guy." As Pim is reflecting on his regrets from picking this fight, Tan shows up and everyone's like, oh, look, there's Tan, but right behind Tan is Poom. Poom goes straight up to him and grabs him and tries to take him away. And there's a little bit of tug of war between him and Q, but eventually Tan is like, just let Poom take him. He promised he's not going to hurt him. So Poom and Pim go to an area secluded from where everyone else is, and Poom demands that Pim compensate him for his hospital bill, which is 200,000 baht. Pim is like, I cannot afford 200,000 baht. What do you expect me to do? And Poom says, if you can't afford to pay, then you must compensate me in a different way. And he leans in and whispers something into his ear, and that is where episode 1 ends. Thus far, I would say we're off to a pretty good start. In the recent months, I've been watching quite a few spicy dramas, so I think this was like a welcome break from that. It's really cute and it's pretty funny. I think there's a lot of comic relief, and I really enjoy that. Like, I left out like some of the details in the summary for brevity's sake, but there's when they're at the bar, like Pun shows up in his pajamas, which is pretty outlandish, and Tan's character pretty much offers comic relief anytime he's on the screen, which I really enjoy. I've seen that actor in one other drama, so I'm excited to see more of him in this series. Overall, I would say first impression, I'm pretty excited to keep watching the series. I think I might have mentioned it before, but if I didn't, it's about 16 episodes, and it is wrapping up its last episode on July 17th, which is next week. So I am really excited to power through this. So that's a wrap for my very first episode summary, and I would say this is going to be the close to episode 1. I am looking forward to talking to you all again next week and when I watch episode 2, and I really hope you enjoyed this episode. We don't have any actual sponsors right now, so today's episode is brought to you by Pond's Neobong, as I recently learned that he is a raging in-citizen Jaehyun biased, and I love that for him. I feel like we have a pretty strong bond. So I will be definitely going back to go find some of his other works to watch. Once again, thank you so much for listening to the first episode of Blush the podcast. If you like this episode, please do me a favor and leave a review. If you have any drama recommendations that you want to send to me, you can send them over via email at blushedpodcast@gmail.com. Trying to stay on brand here since the podcast is called Blushed because we are blushing from all of the love and romance that's in the air. I will sign off by telling you to stay rosy, and I will see you here again next week.